Okay, how's everybody doing this evening? My name is Kent, and the channel is Bitcoin Believer. It is um, January 14th. We are in Southern California, thank God, because we don't have any of the bad weather I think they have in the rest of the country. And we are about, let me see, what time is it? It's almost 6 o'clock in the evening. I thought I'd come on and do a live here. I am live, so if you'd like to make a comment or thumbs up or do anything, I'd appreciate it. I have that box open. So I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, I want to talk about the Bitcoin market because it is looking kind of interesting. But I want to talk a little bit about where we're at as an overall economy. Because if you look at this in a macro, the big picture, this economy died. Actually, the economy died a long time ago, but it really died in 2008 with the financial crisis. They're too big to fail. The reason Satoshi Nakamoto ever even introduced Bitcoin, actually put it in the very first block, that he was not in favor of the bank bailouts, but too big to fail. The economy died in that time. It just literally died, disintegrated. There were no more, what would you say, no more rules to the game. We just said, hey, we're just going to bail all the financial institutions out. We'll print as much money as we need to print. We'll do quantitative easing. We'll do whatever we need to do. But we're going to keep the financial system in place. But the financial system died because that financial system that we used where we were just printing fiat money, it ran out. I mean, it's just like you couldn't keep up with it. And the money was being consumed so quickly, or the money. I mean, when I was a kid, a millionaire was a person that had a lot of money. Today, a millionaire is somebody that owns a really average or even below average house here in Southern California. That's a millionaire. So if you're living a middle class, maybe lower middle class life here in Southern California, you're a millionaire, because that's about what it takes to live here in Southern California, especially to buy a home. So when I was a kid, like I say, going to school in University of Nebraska, millionaires that was a big amount of money. In fact, I remember taking an entrepreneurship class, and we had to give a little talk at the end of the class. And one of the kids got up and said his dad was in trucking, and his dad was a millionaire. And we were all went, wow, man, this kid's set for life. His dad's a millionaire from this trucking business. Now today, if you said you were a millionaire, you wouldn't really think much of it. And obviously, you got billionaires all over the place. I mean, more billionaires than we've ever had. It's not that people got more wealthy. It's just that the money has less value today than it did when I was younger and growing up. So anyway, the financial system died in 2008. So what we've been doing recently for the last 20 years is we've been on life support, or we've been walking dead, as I said in the video, in the title. We're the walking dead. So something needed to replace it. And of course, there's so many people that focus on gold. In fact, even today I was talking to my son, and we were talking about how much prices have gone up on everything. Going to the grocery store, buying a gallon of milk, buying this, we go to the grocery store, I spend $200, we barely have anything in the bag. And he was saying, well, what do we do? How do we get away from this? And he was asking me if we should buy gold. I said, I've done that. I did that all the way through the 90s and 2000s. I bought gold. Gold is not the answer. And anybody that telling you is not thinking very hard about this or has not experienced it. The one thing about being my age is, well, actually, there's a couple things. One is that you've got a bunch of perspective on life. You know that you've seen this stuff before. And second, it's not good because you're getting old, but it is a benefit of the fact that you got a perspective on life. And I've seen this before, where people will gravitate towards gold because it's a commodity, and it's a scarce commodity. And let me just tell you why they gravitate towards gold. They gravitate towards gold because everybody. What is money? Money is just a state of mind. What we will accept for our work. So whatever we want to do, if you want to go out and work during the day, and at the end of the day, whatever anybody hands you that you're willing to trade your work for, that's what money is. So in other words, I go out and I work all day long in a factory. At the end of the day, if they hand me a piece of gold, or they hand me a piece of paper, or they hand me something, whatever it is that they hand me, I have to accept for that day that I used up in my life to work. And now I can use that to go off and do other things with it. So whatever we're willing to accept is what money is. So people will accept gold as money because we're all in agreement that gold is money, just like paper is money. We're all in agreement of that. But the real thing that is money is work. So we exchange our work for something, for either a piece of gold or a piece of paper or a piece of silver. But whatever we're willing to exchange our work for, that's what money is. So in that respect, money is whatever you think it is, because that's what we're willing to trade our time for. Maybe you're willing to trade your time for a vehicle, or maybe you're willing to trade your time for anything, whatever. In the Bible, uh, I can't remember the names of the people in the Bible, but one guy was willing to trade his work for a wife. Somebody will tell me who the people were, but he was willing to work for his for somebody, because in exchange for his daughter. So that's what his value for his work was. Is that I get a wife out of this thing. I get someone's daughter out of this thing. That's what my work is trading for. But the issue is that it's work that we're trading for, whatever it is that we control, whatever we have, and that's what we get. So today we're willing to do that for paper money. The reason I say gold is bad is because gold is a commodity, and it's not easily translated into our world of money. So if you go out and you work all day and you get a piece of gold, what do you do with that gold? Can you go down and buy something with it? No, you might be able to barter with it, but you're going to be bartering with it on a very few number of people that are willing to accept it, because you got to realize that if they accept the gold, what do I do with it? So either you barter with people that are in that same mind frame as you are, or you have to store it someplace or put it someplace where it just doesn't really accumulate. It's not gaining any kind of, the only thing it's going to gain is if it appreciates, because everybody thinks it's worth more money, but it's not going to get any interest, or it's not going to get any more valuable in that way. It's just going to get more valuable if people think it's more scarce. The problem with gold is it is a commodity. And as I found out with farming back in the 70s and 80s, 60s and 70s, actually 70s and 80s, I was a kid in the 60s, is that the more the price goes up, the more production comes into play. So when we were farming in the 1960s and 70s, corn and everything went up in value because of Nixon took the country off the gold standard, so commodities become more valuable. So what do? We raise more corn. As soon as the corn become more valuable, we raise more corn. What happens when gold goes up in value? They get more mining. They get more of their D10 cats out there, their D11 cats. They get more better skill. They get better ways of mining. They find more gold. Most of this world is untapped as far as what we know is out there in the world as far as gold is concerned. It's a commodity. The price of gold goes up a lot. The mining of it will go up a lot. It's not a fixed supply. We don't know what the supply of gold is. There could be gold all around the world that we don't know about. So I don't think gold makes a very good money. And that's the whole reason we ever got into the fiat currency thing, is because gold does not make good money. So if you're thinking about gold as a way of having a new financial system, it's not gold. It won't work. Silver doesn't work. And we have to figure out a way that dissociate our new financial system around a work product. And of course, you got guys like, thanks for the thumbs up, I appreciate it. You got guys like Warren Buffett who say that Bitcoin doesn't work. Bitcoin has nothing. Bitcoin doesn't do anything. And the reason Buffett says Bitcoin doesn't do anything, because he doesn't see it working. It's not like Buffett's used to seeing companies where, you got a product, you sell the product. Let's just say Nebraska Furniture Mart. He owns Nebraska Furniture Mart, which is one of his big investments back in Omaha. I used to live in Omaha when I went to school there. So people would walk in, they'd buy a piece of furniture, they'd walk out, they give of course, Nebraska Furniture Mart the money. Money would go to the people that manufacture them. He saw all that process going on. To him, that was work. So he said, "Oh, Nebraska Furniture Mart does something. It creates a product through having people build furniture, and then we sell the furniture." So he saw that going on. The problem with a guy like Buffett is he doesn't see the work going on behind Bitcoin, because he's not a technologist. In fact, my understanding, he doesn't even do email. And he doesn't have to. It's like my son said, he doesn't have to get up to speed to email. He doesn't have to get up to speed. He's already a billionaire many times over. Why does he have to learn Bitcoin? He doesn't need to learn Bitcoin. He doesn't want to learn Bitcoin. He doesn't have to learn Bitcoin. But in his naivety or naive way of looking at the world, since he doesn't understand it, he doesn't think it does anything. But there is work in Bitcoin. Just as much work in Bitcoin as there is when you're out there plowing up the ground with a D9 Caterpillar, a D10 Caterpillar looking for gold in the ground, there's just as much work. And the work's just different. The work is different in the way it's done digitally. If he thought about it, he would think that the people that are mining Bitcoin have to put as much time and effort into it as the people that are running these Caterpillars or these earth-moving machines that are digging it out of the ground. The only difference between Bitcoin and gold is that Bitcoin is done, the work is done digitally. With gold, the work is done physically with machinery and diesel fuel and manpower. And the problem with that is that's not the world we live in today, is the diesel fuel work and manpower. And that's not the way the world operates or is going to operate in the near future, the way I'm going to show you in a second. But that's why guys like Buffett don't understand Bitcoin, because he doesn't understand what the work behind it is. If he understood how this works, where you have mining groups that have computers that are mining this, and they were spending a lot of energy and electricity, is not to mention the hardware that they spend on to do this, that this is a very difficult process, and there is work in it, and there is work behind the product of money. So money is represented by work, and work is represented by people's efforts out in doing something, either mining it out of the ground or mining it digitally through Bitcoin. But both things they have to be fixed. You can't just say it's nothing. And that's why we've gotten into the problem. That's why the financial system died, because the money was no longer associated with the work product. It was just churned out by some bankers who decided to come up with this system called, the dollar, or the Federal Reserve. They just decided to have some representative to say, hey, look, we're going to come up with this idea of the dollar, but didn't have any work product behind it, no work effort behind it. And when we disassociated that in 1971 with Richard Nixon, that would put it on a timeline of how long it's going to do before it fails. And it failed in 2008. Now we've been going on for the last 20 years without any kind of financial system. It just so happens in 2008, when the financial system died, what happened was Bitcoin. Now, either you can say that was somebody that could see the future, Satoshi Nakamoto, or it was something else. Maybe the financial system knew it was going to die. The people in charge said, we need to resurrect it with something else. So they came up with the digital currency, which was Bitcoin. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But somehow we have translated from the work product being a commodity like gold or silver, now to a digital commodity being Bitcoin. The difference is Bitcoin is 21 million ever. Gold, silver, we have no idea how much there is in the ground. Could be massive amounts we've never found before. So I'm going to switch my screen over, and I'm going to show you some stuff here real quickly. Let me see if I can get on the right screen. There we go. I'm small now. Okay, let's take a look. I want to talk about where we're going now, because first of all, let's look at the price of Bitcoin. If you've looked at Bitcoin the last little bit here, it has taken a little bit of a drop, but don't fall into the trap to thinking Bitcoin's going to go down for very much longer, for a couple reasons. On Monday morning, which is just a few hours away, you're going to have all this retail investing coming in from these ETFs that just got approved. So we're going to have a lot of people that have the opportunity to sit down over the weekend, look through their book, and I used to be a stockbroker, so I know what that's like. Look through their book and go, man, who could I sell this ETF to and make a little commission from him? So, I got pretty good commissions, maybe a 1, or I don't know what the percentages are on these ETFs. Let's just say 1%. Let me see if I can find a couple investors with a few $1 million to throw into this ETF Bitcoin thing. And I'll generate some commission. So on Monday morning, you've got the retail market ready to hit the floor running, buying Bitcoin ETFs. And that's going to go on for the next few months. So this little bit of a drop right now, I wouldn't even be concerned about, because that's just the calm before the storm. Monday morning, these stockbrokers, hundreds of them, thousands of them, are going to start retailing Bitcoin, and they're going to try. These guys got to feed their families too. So what do they need? They need to generate commissions. How do they generate commissions? Sell this new ETF Bitcoin. They're going to be on the phones tomorrow morning, bright and early, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, maybe even earlier, and they're going to be selling Bitcoin ETFs. So we're going to start to see this price climb up. Not to mention the fact that we've got a halving coming up very soon. I know a lot of people don't understand it, because a lot of people don't even understand Bitcoin. The halving cuts the rewards in half. So as in mining with gold, where we don't know how much there is, or There could be infinite amounts, especially with AI and satellites looking for gold all over the world. We don't know what's at the bottom of the seas. We don't know what's in the Antarctic. We don't know where all the gold is, but there could be a lot more gold around than we think. With Bitcoin, we know exactly how much there is. There's 21 million. There'll never be any more. So we know there's a fixed supply. We know there's a retail market out there. We know there's thousands and thousands of brokers willing to get on the phone and talk to their clients about buying an ETF and make a little commission from it. And we know we got a limited supply to draw from. So when Coinbase runs out, all these different places that inventory Bitcoin start to run out of Bitcoin, the only other thing they can do is raise the price till somebody starts to sell. And they got to get the inventory by raising the price. They're going to have to start raising the price to come up with more people to sell so they can come up sell with. So this is the true market, something that has a fixed supply and has demand. And as that demand picks up, the fixed supply is going to have to increase. So the only way to increase that is to get people to raise the price to increase the amount that they could sell. So this is inevitable that the price is going to go up. So if you're holding on right now, if you're thinking of 42,000 is a good place to sell, I would be highly, in a disagreement with you as far as that's concerned. 42,000 is just a base right now for Bitcoin. I think that's about as low as it can go, and I see it going much, much higher. So where are we going from here? So I want to go ahead and I want to play a little bit of a video here. Actually, I want to take a look at the crypto bubbles. Actually, let's do this first. Let's go to, and the other thing I was going to say, as work represents money, I found this kind of interesting because this is from a Nazi. This is what they had over the like Auschwitz and in the different Nazi concentration camps. They had this thing, right? And I'll play it real quick. This is interesting. Oh, let me go back to it. I lost it. But what they had over those, when you walked into these concentration camps, is that work will set you free. Where's it at? I'll play it in German. Right here.
Arbeit macht frei.
Yes, work will set you free. So they used work as a methods of freedom. And, a lot of people use work as a way to make money. So work is always associated with money and freedom and the ability to sustain yourself, get yourself out of the problem, get yourself going, and it's not so much work is money. There's something, money, people would say the money is the most important thing. Money isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is the power to create money. In fact, I think the Rothschilds said that they could care less who controls the governments as long as they had the control over the money supply. They could print the money. So the ability to print the money is the most important thing, not the ability to have the money, but to print the money. To create the money is the most important thing. That's why people want to link it to work, because they don't want anybody to have a monopoly on the money supply. So they want you to say, hey, you've got to do something. You got to create something. You got to create some activity before you get the money. And that's why, and even the Germans use this as a means of getting the people out of it. And of course it wasn't true, but they said, look, work will make you free. They wanted you to work hard in the prison camp. And if you worked hard, you were going to get out. You were going to get free. So that's what they told the people in those concentration camps. So they associated work with freedom, which is now we associate work with money. So work and money are very closely related. So I want to go to this thing where we're doing so Bitcoin was approved by Gensler. Forgot his name for a second. Chairman Gensler. But if you listen to what he said, and I made a couple of videos about this, he said he didn't really want to do it. He was forced to do it by the government. And the reason he was forced to do it by the government is because they had a court case in the DC Court of Appeals that ruled against him. That I think Grayscale I think Kathy Woods was in on it too, but I think Grayscale was the one that actually brought the lawsuit. I think she joined it. But what they said is that the DC Court of Appeals says there's no reason why you can't have a spot Bitcoin, because they already had future Bitcoin. So there's no reason to have a spot. So they lost the case. So Gensler said, I had to go along with this because we are the Security and Exchange Commission. Obviously, if there's a DC Court of Appeals case, I'm not going to violate the court, and I'm going to go along with the court. So I have to go along with it. So he's almost like, I didn't really want to do it. I had to do it. I was forced to do it. So he's gotten an out as far as the fact that the Bitcoin became his spot ETF. So he's not taking any We went along with this. We did this by our own free will. We were forced into doing this by the courts. And of course, the courts are supposed to be non-political. So this was like a real easy way for them to say, yeah, we had to give up on Bitcoin. The courts told us to do it. The courts are going to say, hey, we looked at this as not politically, because we're not a political. We look at this by a legal matter, an ethical matter, as what the law, the precedent says. Whatever the law says, we go by the law. The courts go by the law. So it's not a political decision. It was a legal decision. It was made by precedents and what the courts felt was correct. Legally, by common law, by the way we rule, by precedents in the courts, that Bitcoin had to be allowed to have a spot ETF. So that kind of got Gensler out from this idea that he's the one that said, hey, I'm the one that's going to approve the ETF. He said he didn't really want to do it. He was forced to by court. But the issue is why did they approve the Bitcoin ETF? And why were the courts allowed, or why did the courts allow a Bitcoin ETF? And I think it's going to a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is they were forced to because of the fact that we are going towards a central bank digital currency. And if you don't think we're going to the central bank digital currency, and I think the Bitcoin ETF and all this was all part of the moving us towards a central bank digital currency, a CBDC, a central bank digital currency. So here we go. I'm going to play I think her name's Lagarde. She is in essence what Gensler is today for us in the United States. She is for the EU. This is the head of the central bank in EU, and she's talking about the digital currency. So I'm going to let her talk. Her name's Lagarde. And we'll let her talk for a second so you can listen to what she's got to say. If you don't think we're going to a central bank digital currency in this country, listen to what she has to say here. She's like the Gensler of Europe.
My views on CBDCs, and you know that I have pushed that project. Fabio Panetta is working hard on that together with members in the entire Eurosystem, with a high-level task force that is working really hard on moving forward. But in a way, I'm really pleased that attention is now focused on the role that cryptos can play and the role that central bank digital currency can have when they are implemented. We have a schedule, as you know. The Governing Council decided back in October 21 to launch a 2-year investigation phase, and it is at the end of that investigation phase that the decision will definitely be made to launch the CBDC and to make it a reality. We can't go wrong with that project. I'm confident that we will move ahead, but that's going to be a decision of the Governing Council. I think it's an imperative to respond to what the Europeans expect, and I think we have to be a little bit ahead of the curve if we can on that front. So if we can accelerate the work, I hope we can accelerate the work. I will certainly support that. And I was delighted to see that in the United States, there was an executive order by President Biden to actually expect similar effort and focus and progress on CBDCs, cryptos. And I think that it will take all the goodwill of those who want to support sovereignty, who want to make sure that monetary policy can be transmitted properly using our currency will endeavor. On the issue of financial stability, I totally concur with my Vice President, De Guindos, but I will also point you to the last sentence in the first paragraph of our monetary policy statement. And I know that there's been an abuse of.
Okay, there you go. There's a central bank digital currency coming to Europe, and it's coming to the United States as well. So the court systems approved it. The Security and Exchange Commission approved it. And of course, they have to go along with it because the central bank digital currency, the EU is doing it, getting ready to do it, implement it. I don't know exactly where they're at with this, but you know it's coming. So we are going to get a central bank digital currency. There's a lot of people that are against this. And you know, when I sit here and I say that gold isn't any good or it's not going to work, a lot of people will tell me, look, Kent, you don't understand. We go to a central bank digital currency, we have no more privacy in this world. because everything is going to be on a blockchain. And I played this thing about the fact, well, the other day when Gensler was talking, and Gensler talked about he's not so interested in Bitcoin, he's more interested in the blockchain. The blockchain technology was the interesting part of the whole thing to him. The reason blockchain technology is interested to Gensler is because he knows once we go to a blockchain technology, every transaction is transparent to not only, it's transparent to the people that want to know what it is. So the government can tell what's going on with your central bank digital currency wallet. So whatever you buy, whatever you purchase is going to be basically transparent to the federal government. People don't want that. They want some privacy. So they would say, hey, Kent, if I own my gold, I have privacy. I'm not going to be subject to this blockchain thing. I can keep my gold off to the side. I can spend my gold as I like it. I can barter with the people that will take it, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to have all my life exposed on the blockchain, which is where they're going with the central bank digital currency. We're all going to be on the blockchain. They're going to know exactly what we make. They're going to know exactly where we spend our money, and they're going to know everything. Be no privacy left. I'm going to stay away from them. I'm going to keep my gold and silver, and I'm going to get out of this digital currency thing. I'm not even going to play that game. And of course, you can certainly do that. That's your prerogative. You can not choose to be involved with the central bank digital currency, and you can keep a little gold around, and you can barter with it. The problem with that is once you start bartering with your gold and you become a well-known gold holder, you better have good locks on your doors, because people are going to break into your house to steal your gold. The second thing is you're only going to be able to deal with those people that will accept it. I can't go down here to Vaughn's grocery store. I can't go to CVS drugstore and use my gold in there. I'm going to have to use another form of currency, and that's going to be my central bank digital currency. So you could choose to not be in the central bank digital currency, or you can choose, to use it. I think what's going to probably happen is the economy is going to get much worse. Inflation is going to get much worse. The job market certainly isn't very good. Interest rates are very high. And I think people are going to come to that point where they can't make their payments anymore. So when you can't make your rent payment, you can't make your mortgage payment, you can't pay your insurance bill, you can't pay any of these other bills you have, are they going to let the country go backwards into some sort of deflationary spiral till everything collapses? Or are they going to say, look, we just approved a central bank digital currency. You have a FedNow account, which means you have a wallet, a digital wallet in your name from 2020. We're going to inject a little bit of cash into your account so you can start to pay your bills until we figure out how to manage this economy a little bit better. So you'll get that digital money in your FedNow account, in your digital wallet that exists today right now. If you choose to use it, it's up to you. But like I said, I saw this happen years ago. That's one good thing about having a perspective of over 60 years like myself. I remember in the 60s and 70s when people were farming, and then we hit the 80s and the high inflation, high interest rates. And all of a sudden they come up with something called the PIC program, where the government was subsidizing farming. And the farmers that chose to use that subsidies, they did better than the farmers that didn't. The farmers that didn't use the subsidy, they were competing against farmers that did. So in other words, their cost of production was much higher because they weren't given the federal stimulus money. These last 20 years, especially after 2020, there's been a lot of stimulus money put into the people's accounts. The government's given you money just as they've given you money, stimulus money as a private individual, but they've also given a lot of companies money. I mean, it's interesting. A guy like Elon Musk went from a guy that owned Tesla and was very wealthy to being the richest man in the world. Well, one of the reasons he got to be the richest man in the world is because he got a lot of government subsidies for the operation of his companies that he owned, like Tesla and SpaceX. So he was given a lot of stimulus money to keep these companies going and keep the job market high. So people were, keep the job market low. So there were not massive unemployment. So companies have been given money to stay in business. And that's kept the economy going in the last few years. Now that that's starting to run out, what they're going to transition to is a central bank digital currency, where now you'll begin giving money into your stimulus account, stimulus will be given into your bank account, and you will have money to use from your digital wallet. Do you choose to use it? That's fine. If you don't choose to use it, you're just competing against the people that get it. So if I'm getting $5,000 a month in my digital wallet and you don't, I can afford to spend money you can't afford because I'm getting it from the federal government through my digital wallet. That's how they will transition us into the digital wallet. If you're feeling like that's going to invade your privacy, then don't use it. But I think eventually they're going to put back everybody into a corner where they're going to have to use it. And that would be my feelings about this. This is first we have the Bitcoin ETF, spot ETF, forced into by the courts and the Securities and Exchange Commission. We have an economy that's very, very, I'd say in my mind, not doing very well right now. We have an election coming up very soon. We've got a lot of things at play here. And the only way they're going to get us into a new economy, because the economy really died in 2008. We've been the walking dead for the last 20 years, is they're resurrecting this economy with a central bank digital currency. And they need a way to keep people able to make the payments, be able to feed themselves, keep themselves in a standard of living that they're used to having, so the economy doesn't collapse and go backwards and go negative. Because if the economy collapses and go backward and negative, then they lose their power. And of course, the power is more important than the money. The power was what gives them the money. So they're not going to want to lose their power. The only way to lose their power is if this thing falls backwards and goes into deflation. And that will never happen, because everything we do is built on our ability to get money and borrow money and have money. And if we lose that ability, then we will no longer go forward. We'll go backwards. Things will start to retract. The economy, everything will go backwards. The roads, the towns the municipalities, they won't be able to, fix their infrastructure. We already have an infrastructure that's falling apart in this country. Damaged bridges, damaged roads, everything. Everything has to keep progressing. If it's not progressing and goes backwards, then everything that we built up to this point just dies. They can't allow that to happen. The only way they can keep this going without continuing to just to print endless amounts of money that we all know about, that we see every day, that we watch in the ticker that's in Times Square that shows you how big the national debt is every day. Everybody's watching that. The only way to get around that is just to say, hey, look, what we're going to do is we're just going to create this digital money, and we'll start to pay for everything with digital money. We're not going to go to the Congress and ask them to print more money through the Federal Reserve. We're just going to sell more treasuries. We're just going to go ahead and start creating digital money, and the digital money will be the new way we're going to, keep our economy going, keep it viable, and keep it going into the next generation. So I've been talking here for about 32 minutes. I don't want to go on too long, so I'm about ready to wrap this up. If anybody has any comment, I'd appreciate it. If not, I appreciate the thumbs up, appreciate the people that are watching, and I'll try to keep these going more regularly, because I know that the only way for you to grow an audience is to, have fresh content. That means every single day. So I'll try to keep it going every single day. In the meantime, I appreciate it, and we'll just keep watching. I expect a big open tomorrow on Bitcoin. So if you're looking at 42,190, I expect Bitcoin up pretty big tomorrow morning. We'll see, but that's my expectation. Bitcoin will go up tomorrow morning, and it'll probably be up for the next week or two. And I think by the time we get to the halving, we'll be close to 6 figures on Bitcoin. And the halving is April, if you don't know that. So in April, I think we could be from 42 to 80, $100,000 really easily. So this will be a good time for Bitcoin. This will be a good time to make videos too. I appreciate you watching. Thank you.